Okay, we're recording.
Okay, hold on. Try to make sure the fan is off. It doesn't foul the recording.
I'll make the
All right, this is the second experimental test session for our simple D6 system. There have been a couple of changes since the first test game, which was To See Truly, which was a horror setting. This is actually a setting that we're going to put a lot of time in. It is called Kismet by Gaslight, and it is a game set around the stories of Sherlock Holmes. There is nothing weird in this setting. There's no supernatural powers or anything like that. There is, however, some exceptional human abilities. Examples would be arete, elan, art, and also not chutzpah. No, I did call it chutzpah. I think about it. Oh, the French ones. Valor, elan, those. And this represents that these characters in Doyle's tales, although they were human as far as their capabilities, they were a little more than human in their resolve and their determination. They were the kind of people that we know we could be if we really put our minds to it and willing to sacrifice a lot. Center outside. Okay. You may hear our little daughter in the background as we get this all set up. I'm actually very pleased with how this turned out. Let's go ahead with some concepts. Most of the game uses the standard simple D6 with the D3 add-ons for the open rolling. At times, the stage can call for a high action roll, in which case you roll a D10. You can see the high action option in the back of the rule set. The main thing, and I'm going to explain right now before we get started, is this thing called revelation points. And she's walking away from me, and this is for her benefit.
I'm listening.
You're listening. Oh, okay. See, this is how marriage works. The man talks, the wife walks away. But she's listening, in air quotes. So, revelation points are basically a way to keep track of time. To prevent the players from investigating every single little thing and wasting time and slowing down game, I came up with this mechanic to keep them, I hope, on task. Where every time you actively begin an investigation, such as, let's say you spend time going to the library to research chemical interactions, you have to pay the sage a revelation point to represent that time's being expended. Every time you take an investigation of action, though, that turns out to bear fruit, you get a revelation point back, maybe 2 back. So if you're choosing the right things, you actually add to your margin of error. You also get revelation points for expert role-playing, for flooring the group, and for some various other things that will happen during the game. If you run out of revelation points, you can still take investigative actions, but they all now have a +2 difficulty to represent the rush time now you have to try to get them done. And the really nasty thing, revelation points are not per player, they are shared. So if one member of the group is wasting people's time, it wastes everybody's time. Yep. So I did that to help try to keep the group on task. I want you to picture London in the year 1887. It is early March, specifically March the 11th. It is early in the morning. The city is its normal hubbub of activity. People are running to and fro, trying to get from point A to point B. Others are crying out to the paper to find out what the latest news was. Some are sharing the gossip, the latest social event. A lot of London, though, is working class, particularly where you live. I imagine you probably have to get from work to Baker Street.
From work to Baker Street? Baker Street is where I work.
I mean from home to Baker Street.
Okay, right? That makes more sense. I imagine.
Where do you think you would live? You probably don't know much about London at the time.
Yeah.
Would you live in Whitechapel? Whitechapel is one of the poor areas. That's why Jack the Ripper chose his murder victims there. You did say your character was an immigrant.
Yeah, she's got +3 wealth, though.
+3 wealth. Oh, okay. Well then...
Yeah, 'cause remember the backstory for her was that her family had like a chemical factory thing, and then the accident happened, and that...
So if you have +3 wealth, why are you working as a maid?
Because I got facial scarring. Ain't nobody like looking at me.
So your character that has employment, not because she needs it, but because she's basically like just trying to avoid the upper class to keep from looking at her kind of thing?
Yeah, well...
I mean, I like that idea.
There is a thing like... The chemical factory thing exploded while she was there, and there's
Right.
speculation that she had some involvement in what happened, even though she doesn't. But she doesn't remember what happened exactly. So she
Okay,
knows she
so-
doesn't have. She didn't have anything to do with it, but she doesn't know exactly what happened.
So your work,
So-
so your employment then is basically a way to not only kill time and lay low, but to keep your mind occupied, kind of thing. Is that what I'm
Yeah,
hearing?
I guess kind of that, and she's kind of shunned by a lot of people. So
Okay. So, well, with a +3 wealth rating, you probably live within one of the more well-to-do areas of London. I imagine you probably actually have a pretty swank flat. You live in the city?
yeah, she'd probably live in the city.
Okay. With that kind of a wealth rating, I'm going to say you probably have at least one personal servant,
Okay.
and they have stayed by you despite all the hubbub and stuff around you. Other servants have found reasons to leave. You hear a discreet on your door that morning.
We'll say that servant is her close friend. I have to be honest. Says yes.
Madam, I hate to trouble you, but it is getting late. You asked me to wake you at 6.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And madam, I strongly suggest that when you have your morning tea, you try to remain calm. What is your servant's name?
I don't know.
Let's call her Betty. All right. So she comes into the room discreetly. She has on a covered tray food in the tray. She sets the tray down by the edge of your bed. She then puts down a tea carafe and some water, and then she hands you a letter.
What does the letter say? It's
The letter doesn't have any address on it.
Well, it's probably not super unusual at that time.
Yeah, it's like a private message type thing.
Yeah.
You can tell it didn't come through the post.
So she opens it.
You open the letter and you see that it is a clipping from a social paper. Now, during the time period, you had these social papers that were keeping people updated about what was going on. Every year, you also had a social register that was printed about what the major events of the year were, who was marrying who, that kind of thing. This is a clipping that's come from some clipping service, as well as a personal handwritten note. It's from one of your cousins.
Ah.
The cousin writes in the letter, "I can't believe she did this to you. Despite everything that's happened, you're still family. How dare she?" And the clipping is to your sister's wedding, which is in 1 week. And she didn't tell you she was getting married. As I recall, we said your sister was also present at the event that took place at the chemical factory, right?
And blames me for it.
That's what I thought. I remember that correctly. She's marrying a nice English chap. It's not an Indonesian name. And you've never heard of the man before, so you know he's not gentry. But if she's marrying him, he's probably got some money. Maybe he's in industry or something. His last name is Birmingham.
Ah. Okay then. Sigh. Feel bad. Just like set it aside and have my breakfast.
Okay. Give me a mental test, please. I would say this is an average difficulty of 3.
What am I rolling?
In this game, you roll a d6. If you roll a 1 or a 6, the roll becomes open-ended, and you add a d3. Or subtract a d3 if it's a 1.
Got 4.
4. So you manage not to have like a crying fit or anything, like a stalking mad fit. You just have normal emotions at the news. It doesn't spoil your breakfast. What do you do when you get up?
I probably need to head over to Baker Street, so
I'd assume you should get dressed first.
yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Get dressed and
You get dressed in your
ready to
uniform
go.
for Mrs. Hudson, and as you walk out, Betty's looking at you, and she's just like, still flummoxed about why you're doing this. But you know, she understands that everyone handles grief differently. It's not that long since your parents died. As you go to leave, she says, "Madam, if I may." She reaches behind your hair. You're used to having a bit more money, so you've never really done a lot of your own hair. Some of it's come loose from out of the bun, so she has to stuck it back in and pin it correctly.
Oh, thank you, Betty.
You're very welcome, madam. I shall get the apartments cleaned.
Alright, we'll both be scrubbing today.
All right. You head out of the apartment. So you've not really detailed your living condition to me. Do you live in a hotel right now? Do you live in a flat building?
I think she'd probably have her own little flat.
A flat
Probably
building.
like a little.
Give me a fate test.
Thing.
Call it difficulty 4.
Yeah, 5.
So you wander through the halls, and nobody hounds you for attention, assuming you're serving there for the building.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody calls you for attention. Nobody bumps into you. You get through the hubbub of the building, and you're out onto the early morning streets. Business is already starting. You hear people hawking wares, street vendors doing their things. Paperboy on the corner is immediately trying to go, "Farthing for the paper! Farthing for the paper!" Farthing's a type of coin.
Okay.
Okay. Do you buy one?
Nah, she's not in the mood for news today.
Okay. You then proceed to make your walk towards Baker Street. Now, going across London can be quite the task. First, give me a luck check. That'd be fate. Let's see if anybody tries to pick your pocket, accost you, be rude to you.
Yeah, 3.
You tied what I rolled, so nothing bad happens to you. Not even a minor incident. Everyone kind of avoids you. I imagine part of the way you probably go by streetcar or by coach.
I guess.
Because you got to get there fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You're going across a large distance. When you get into the coach, there's a gentleman on the other side of the coach. They're already occupying part of the space. When you enter the coach, he nods to you, tips his hat. Madam.
It's polite, whatever the polite thing is to do. Like, yeah, I guess I'm like nod and sir or something.
Give me an observation test on him, quickly. Now, observation is a mental roll. Where did my adventure go? Here we are.
Do we not have skills on here?
No, you don't. Remember, in this system, there are no skills.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
There's profession bonuses instead.
Looks
And you're an
like-
inventor, so you wouldn't really be sharper than normal with this.
Looks like the dog wants bangs.
Give me your observation score first. What'd you roll?
I got a 3.
So with a 3, you may have up to 4 tidbits of information of either 3 surface or 1 minor clue. Which would you like? 3 surface observations or 1 minor observation?
Do 1 minor.
So surface observations are things like there's dirt on his collar, there's lipstick on his thing. It's me just stating a fact. Minor allows you to get sort of a minor conclusion or a minor hint about how that got there.
Minor.
1 minor.
Yeah.
He has the look of a professional person. He looks to be in quite the rush. He must be running late.
Okay.
The carriageman's like, "Get on your back. We'll be right down, Missy." He's probably taken you to Baker Street before. I'm sure Mr. Hudson would be happy to see you. The man next to you quirks his head. Mrs. Hudson,
Yes, Miss Hudson.
you aren't by chance going to 221B Baker Street?
Yes, I am, actually.
He looks you up and down. It looks like he's observing you now, trying to figure something out. And you can't quite tell. Now, this gentleman, from what you can see, is a typical English gentleman. He's got the handlebar mustaches. He looks to be in his early or mid-30s. You've not met this gentleman before. He's not wearing a monocle or anything. Would you like to try a conversation with him? Or are you just going to kind of zone out?
My character is not very social.
I remember that part. That's what I'm asking.
She's and I think she's very self-conscious about the facial scarring she has right now, so she's just gonna kind of quietly sit there and be awkward.
Okay. Roll me a mental. See if you notice something.
Did I add my +2 that I have on there?
If you have a mental bonus, yes.
Yes, I do. So that would be a 4 total.
A 4 total. He is staring, and he's staring at your scars, but he's not looking at you with like judgment or revulsion. You sense professional interest of some kind there.
Okay. She'll kind of shift so that she's a little more in the shadows and the scars aren't showing up so much.
He failed his mental roll. He doesn't realize that you know he's looking, so he's still kind of staring at you.
Digs in her pocket and pulls out a book, because I'm sure she keeps a book or something, which is probably actually just like a chemistry journal or something like that.
Ooh. You have a mental of 2, so technically he tied at 0. I need you to roll me another mental.
I roll 1.
Oh, roll a d3 and subtract it. So you have a 0 on your dice, and you have a mental bonus of +2, right?
Yeah.
So here's where the open-ended system can get strange sometimes. You only have a 2. He rolled a total of 0 because he rolled badly. You catch him looking at your shoulder like this, looking at what you're reading. And then you see this look of astonishment cross the man's face.
It's a chemistry
A
journal.
woman reading chemistry texts? And he's like, did Miss Hudson hire you specifically to deal with Holmes and his tempers?
If you mean Holmes and his proneness for ill-advised chemical experiments, I would be yes.
Roll a social for me.
No. God.
Oh! Oh! Oh, a -2. Do you have any social bonus?
No.
Oh! Oh. So the remark comes off as being very snide and snarky, and he's like, I apologize, madam. I did not mean to. Rump, silently brewed. And he proceeds to look the other way outside the other side of the carriage the rest of the way to 221.
Thank fucking God!
That made me laugh so hard I'm going to add a revelation point to your score. You started the game with 4, now you have 5. So, the carriage, it's a cab, handsome cab, pulls up in front of 221. Driver stops, turns and goes, will that be all, Dr. Watson? Yes, thank you. Hands him the money.
Oh, it was Dr. Watson.
Watson then gets out the other side of the cab, straightens himself, walks around the cab to the other side and holds out his hand to you.
Oh. Thanks. I want some help for down.
Even though you're dressed as a servant, since he's the man, he then walks to the door, opens the door to let you in. So you have an outside exterior door,
Oh.
and then you have the interior doors.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of the actual site today, they just have the site up with its marker. But from what I understand in the books, there was actually like a small, for lack of a better word, there's a small foyer. That foyer is actually shared by all the rooms around that small little inner foyer, because you have 221B on one side, 221A, 221C, etc., etc.
People who live in 221, actually live in 221, must have had a lot of people knocking on their doors
By mistake.
and stuff. Like, this is where Sherlock Holmes is. There's no Sherlock Holmes here, but this is where he lived. Can we see it? Like,
So the morning is you walk into the small foyer. It's about 15 by
Yeah.
15 feet, and then the doors and the stairwells go everywhere. And from what I understand, B's up on the top of the stairs. So he's like, "Madam,
Oh, thank you.
all right." You get to the top, and now here's where you have to actually knock because you got her door.
Tap on the door.
Go away! Says a very irate voice. Holmes, do let us in. Us, Watson? Yes, Holmes, us. The door opens a little bit. Give me a social.
Oh, God.
Watson manages to get a 7, so if you don't get it, he will.
I got a 3 plus 2 is 5.
He opens the door, and all you see is Sherlock's eye, and Sherlock's hair is everywhere. You hear Watson sucking his teeth like, oh dear. Sherlock, have you been up all night? Not quite all of the night, Watson. I'm very close. I'm very, very close. Now, if you'll excuse me, well, Holmes, you have to let me in. There's work I have to do. Not to mention the young lady has work she probably has to do. Oh, very well. Opens the door. You see a very disheveled Sherlock Holmes. Roll me another awareness. D6 and add your mental.
Yeah, 6. 7. That's 9.
Ooh. And he's not trying to hide. He needs to go straight to greater clue/damning information. Between the smell and the look and the hair, you can tell that Holmes has been up all night working with some kind of chemical experiment.
Oh dear.
And there is a rank odor in the room that smells of the foulest sulfur. Lots of tobacco has been consumed. He's probably been smoking like a chimney while he's been doing whatever it is he was doing. And the room probably needs to be aired out all day.
Sigh, walk in, and start opening up the windows to air the room out.
No! Holmes, get the way, move something. Don't touch that, you infuriating woman! Holmes?
If you let the chemicals sit in here stewing, you're going to poison yourself, Mr. Holmes.
Everything is perfectly fine within acceptable tolerances. Give me a look around the room real quick. See if you can try to figure out what it is he's trying to do.
Is that a mental thing again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Now for this, you get to add another +2 because you're an inventor.
Oh, so that'd be 7.
You have a +1 degree of success. You look around the room. You can tell that whatever it is he's doing, it's some kind of experiment to determine a reaction. You're not exactly sure what the reaction is, but you know it has something to do with acids.
Okay.
He's looking for how an acid reacts to something.
Okay. Probably still need to air out the room though.
Fine. Just let me move the work to the basement. Watson, grab that table end. Holmes, Watson, please. Very well, Holmes. Puts his cane in his jacket aside, picks it up. Holmes grabs the other end of the table. They proceed to walk out.
Open up the windows.
In the process of opening up the windows, you look out to the street below. You see the hubbub and the passing of life of the street. One of the irregulars who's on watch waves to you. I don't know if you remember what the irregulars are of the stories.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
Kind of awkward wave back.
And he kind of blushes when you wave back and preens a little bit. Pretty woman.
Scarred face. You don't feel pretty.
Young street urchin. He doesn't see it that way. And while you're out there cleaning things out, you're going around the room, you might get an inkling of other things that have happened. Roll another mental for me as you look around the room. No, you are clueless. You are very clueless. You go about your task, get everything done, and before you know it, most of the morning is gone. By the time noon rolls around and you're parting for lunch, you've got most of the room aired out, things seem cleared, you've got Sherlock's things, which you've been told not to move, and at least some semblance of order. And all of a sudden from downstairs, from the basement, you hear something go, boom! Damnation, Watson!
Was he messing with gunpowder? Turn around and go downstairs.
Roll a mental real quick.
Oh. 7? Wait, not a 7. I can't add. 6.
And add 2 for being an inventor.
Oh, that would be 8 then.
Just shy of 3. Okay, you have 2 degrees of success. From the way the sound went, you know it was actually flash powder, like what you use for a camera. Flash powder makes that sound.
Why was he taking pictures of his experiments? This still goes down the stairs. Down to
The odor that was in the room that you just spent hours cleaning out pervades the entire house. You get down to the bottom level and it's seeping up through the floorboards of the foyer. All the apartments linked to the foyer are going to smell of this rancid, sulfurous stench.
I continue down to the basement.
You get down to the basement, and sure enough, there are several flash powder arrays set up with little clocks on them. Others have like various tinctures. There's notes around all of them. And Watson and Holmes are both sitting there. And Holmes's hair is actually like back, like a cartoon bomb blast almost. Watson actually has embers on his jacket that are burning. as he's glaring at Holmes, and the two of them are arguing over how Watson bumped into something he wasn't supposed to bump into. And Watson's swearing he did, and Holmes is swearing he did.
Put out the embers on Watson's coat before they start burning him.
The two of them are arguing voraciously against one another. Watson, I swear, sometimes you are the worst kind of plot. Well, Holmes, if you tell me where to step and where not to step, perhaps this wouldn't be an issue. And they proceed to argue back and forth like an old married couple. What do you do?
I go look at the experiment table to try to figure out what in the holy hell is Holmes trying to do here.
Roll me a mental, add your mental bonus, and 2 for being an inventor.
So that's another 8.
That will again give you almost 2 degrees success, but only 1 because 2 degrees would be 9. You look at the experiment, you could tell that whatever he was doing up front with the acids, he thinks that someone's using some kind of acid and flash powder, which would be weird because acid like that shouldn't combust. What he's doing with that, you have no idea, but you can tell that's the intent of the experiment. He's got various things of flash powder set up, all of the same flash powder mixture. Then at each station, he's got slightly different either amounts of acid, timing how acid's delivered, variation how it's delivered, etc., etc., etc.
Okay. Is there any suggestions that I could make based off what I'm saying?
Roll your mental and add 2 for being an inventor.
Another 8 again.
So you're looking at it, and it seems the problem he's got is that he's relying on mechanical apparatus to deliver the acid. He should just really do it on a long piece of yard holding a vial of it and just dump it himself.
Is there one of those long things anywhere
Of course
around
there
there?
is.
I grab hold of it. Walk over to where they're arguing.
Don't stop.
Over to Mr. Holmes. Instead of relying on that mechanical contraption, you should be using this, Mr. Holmes. Then perhaps you won't end up stinking the whole building.
Give me a social. I would say trying to influence Holmes, who's notorious for... Oh, no, before you roll. Well, that's a really good roll. Trying to influence Holmes, who's notorious for his stubbornness and his assertiveness, is at least a TN 6.
Okay.
And you roll a D3, let's see if we got anything better on there.
I got an 8.
So that only gives you 1 DOS because you need a 9 to get 2. Do you have a social bonus by chance?
No.
Holmes takes 1 deep breath and he says, "When I want the advice of someone who is a bumbling imbecile that blew up her parents' factory, I'll ask for it." Roll a mental.
I slap him.
Or you can voluntarily fail. I'll add a revelation point for that.
Slap him.
Roll initiative. He's got a 4.
Roll 1.
So he sees it coming. At first he's like, she wouldn't dare. And then when he realizes you're serious, he's like, whoa! And he does this weird arm thing you've never seen before, but you feel your arm basically like boing, you bounce back 5 feet. Boom. Holmes, says Watson. It's okay.
She takes the thing, shoves it at him, and says, "Good day, Mr. Holmes. Have good luck finding someone who can tolerate your abrasive ridiculousness," and storms up the stairs to leave.
I wonder if that was the same kind of lack of resolve that led to the errors that burned down your family's factory. You won't be the first maid that's run away.
There's this one, she just tears off her apron and throws it at him and then continues storming at the house.
As she's coming up out of the basement, Mrs. Hudson's like, holding her nose. "Dearest, what's going on down there? Mr. Holmes hasn't blown up the house, has he?"
"Oh, I'm sure he will here soon. I would advise finding some other place to live, Miss Hudson. After all, that fool is likely to burn your building down at some point."
"Oh, I can't tell me I need the rent, and this is all my husband has left me. Where's your apron?"
"Oh, I'm no longer in your employ. It'll be my last day today.
"Oh, dear,
I'm
please,
leaving."
please, no, please." And she makes a social roll against you.
Oh, God, no.
You have to roll very well. "Please, dear, you don't understand. I understand he's insufferable. I will have a word with him. But please, you're the best. You've lasted longest than any other maids I've had. You've lasted a whole 30 days, dear. Please, dearest. I'll have a word with Mr. Watson. I'll have a word with Mr. Holmes. We'll make him see reason.
Fine, but...
Why don't you take the rest of the day off?
I think that would be good, and perhaps I should carry out my duties when Mr. Holmes is not in residence.
Unfortunately, the men never leaves the house unless he has a case.
Someone should drug him then when I come in.
Okay. Okay.
She starts contemplating possible...
How to drug Holmes.
Turns around, goes back down the stairs, retrieves her apron, glaring at Holmes the whole time, then goes right back up the stairs.
As you skirt the stairs, and Mrs. Hudson, as you walk around her, give me a mental test. See if you hear something.
It'd be a 6.
Mr. Holmes, might I have a word with you about etiquette? You hear Mrs. Hudson saying that very cold, angry, motherly voice. Camera follows your character. You stalk back up the stairs. I imagine you probably have somewhere in the house it's like your little spot.
Yeah.
You sit down. It's now getting close to noon. Or maybe it's a little past. And you sit down with your tea and your biscuit. And you open up the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing you happen to see in the paper is an advertisement for... Oh, crap. I didn't write his name down. I know I put it in the video. I forgot to write his name. You see the name for a famous lecturer. Go ahead and pause recording for just 1 second.
Okay.
So you see an advertisement for a Dr. Henry Umit's lecture to be held today at a very popular university in London. It is a university called Brookridge.
Mm-hmm.
Brookridge is notable in that it was one of the first universities to be co-ed. It's also notable being one of the first universities that basically said, we don't care if you're not noble. If you've got the money for tutelage, we'll train you. Brookridge, I think, actually is the name of the university. It still exists to this day, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's having a lecture there. And the lecture is, according to the advertisement, based on advances in biochemistry, the chemicals in the brain, and a revelation he has had from researching the chemical composition of various cadavers.
Interesting. And it's taking place today.
Today.
Well, I'm taking the rest of the day off, so...
Okay.
Probably finish her tea and biscuits and just take that particular advertisement and take it along with her.
So you walk out, and you've got the street life. Where it's taking place in Fleet Street is almost all the way across town, as I understand the London map. So you're going to have to probably get a cab to get there in time.
Would I have to leave immediately to get there in time, or would I have time?
At this point, since you've been here since noon, yes.
Okay. Well, she'll take her make sure her apron is off and kind of like adjust her clothing so it looks a little less
Servant.
Yeah, servantly, and then go ahead and get a cab.
Okay. You get up to the first cab. We're going to make a fate check.
3.
You get to the first cab, and the guy looks at you, and he's about to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stops. I don't normally do this, but get in, dear. You look like you've had a hard day.
Oh, thank you.
Roll me a mental on him real quick, see what he meant by that.
Oh, yeah, 4.
You pick up that he is mildly racist. He is making a remark if he would normally pick up someone who looks like you.
Ah, well, I'm sure she probably gets that a lot.
Okay. He starts to take you across town. He doesn't make any conversation. I assume you don't either.
Hey, he's my kind of cabbie.
You're looking around London, I take it then while you're going?
Yeah, I'm just kind of
Give me 3 dice as observation tests. You're watching through the crowd, see if you notice anything. One moment you're pretty oblivious.
So I got like a 2. Now, observation, is that a mental thing?
It's a type of test. It's a mental score, yes.
Okay, so 4 and 6. And then...
The 6 actually pick it up. You notice there's a lot of cabs starting to go towards Queen Street. In fact, there's a lot of traffic headed that way.
Oh dear.
And you realize the event may be sold out.
Ah. Well, I can at least go and see, and then if not, oh well.
You get about a quarter of a mile from where you're supposed to be. When the cab pulls over, another woman is waving. And he's like, you hear the cabbie say, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Goes over, get in, dear. She gets in the cab, and it's your sister.
Ah. I say nothing.
Now, you said your family's from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have a specific island in mind?
Not really. I named my character Mila.
We're going to call her Amina, just because that's a good general Muslim-esque name. And a lot of Indonesia actually would have Muslim immigrants or Muslim influence at the time. So Amina gets in, and she sits down. She sees you. And what did you say your character's name was again?
Mila.
Mila, are you going to Dr. Human's lecture?
I was going that direction.
Oh, I see. She sits down very proper. Now she is dressed in a very well-to-do dress, like upper society dress. She looks over at you, and you see the judgment on her face immediately that you're dressed so shabbily.
I don't care. My character's probably used to getting all sorts of grungy and stuff in chemistry labs, so as far as her appearance goes, she's probably not that particular
Your
about
sister
it.
proceeds to look the other way outside the cab, and doesn't look back at you.
Proceed to give her the silent treatment.
We'll talk about the marriage. She didn't tell you about it all?
Oh no! She obviously don't want to talk to me, so I'm just not gonna talk to her.
I understand. Okay. You ride in silence. You're finding the silence comfortable. She apparently is not. Give me another mental on her.
7?
It wouldn't be base awareness. It would be observation. There we are. You said you have a total of what?
7?
I'm going to give you... Yeah. With that score, you actually have a major insight into her behavior. She is feeling guilty. And you can see the indications of guilt. The way she's kind of hemming and hawing, the way she occasionally pulls at her ear. You've lived with her. You know what these signs are. She's feeling guilty, probably about not telling you about the marriage. And you can see the wheels in her head whirling about, do I, don't I? This is the bitch that killed our parents. Wait a minute, this is my sister. You can see it all just kind of rolling around in her head.
Is Birmingham a nice fellow?
That was well done. With an 8, because she rolled high, she manages not to gasp. Yes, Charles is very nice.
Oh, good.
And unlike most of his countrymen, he is very open-minded.
That's good.
I have not yet been able to convince him to accept certain parts of our family traditions, but he's not opposed to me practicing them, so that is good.
Good.
Now what she's referring to is that there would be a big, strong influence for her to become properly British.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Whereas he's basically said, look, honey, if you want to go to mosque still and keep various traditions from your homeland, I don't care. That's actually pretty enlightened on his part.
Yeah.
Okay? Would you... Why do you have to make everything so damn difficult? She suddenly snaps at you.
I'm just sitting here.
I can feel your disdain for me when you're the one that's hurt our family.
Disdain?
Giving me the silent treatment, acting like you're superior to me. She's your younger sister too, if I remember correctly. Isn't
Yeah,
she? Yeah, okay.
just kind of looks at her like, You decided not to tell me that you were getting married.
And with the way you're behaving, it obviously was the right choice. She looked out the other side of the casket.
If you didn't want me to come, you could have just said.
It just didn't seem proper, given that you've not met the Birminghams and they don't know you, and the rumors.
Like I said, you could have just said, and it's not like my face is anything to look at these days.
The cab pulls up. Ladies, I'm sorry, I think it's as close as I can get. You can see Fleet Street off in the distance, and a line of people mobbing that way.
Oh boy.
Well, good thing we have our tickets.
Shrug.
She looks at you. Understanding the shrug immediately, she goes, you don't have a ticket.
I only saw the advertisement today.
Jesus, Mila. Charles couldn't come, you can have his. She fishes in her purse and pulls out the spare ticket.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. We might as well walk together.
Probably would be a good idea considering how many people there are out there. Less chances of either one of us getting mowed over by anyone.
Give me another mental. Oh, wow. Oh, wow! So if that D3 comes up with that gold mark on it, that's an exploding D3. Roll another one.
Oh boy.
Your sister's doing quite well.
I only got a 4.
Your sister rolled a total of a 13.
Damn.
And she has a mental bonus of 1, so she's a total of 14. As she's peering through the crowd, she starts mentioning out famous dignitaries.
Mm-hmm.
You see actually a couple of members sitting in Parliament who have said, fuck Parliament. They've shown up today. You see a couple other famous professors. You see a couple of people that are actually not currently sitting professors, but former sitting professors of London's prestige university, the London Royal Society. And when you arrive, well, various things happen.
Oh, yay.
First thing is the line.
Mm.
There is some jostling and bostling. Since you've got her, you get a bonus. You both roll with an extra 1 to your physical. You need a target number of 3 to keep from being knocked over or knocked out of line.
Oh, thank God. So that's
A couple people bump you in the shuffle, move you aside. You actually lose track of your sister for a second.
okay.
You can't find her. She gets separated from you. And in that, I need another mental test. This one's difficulty 7.
Nope,
But
I
you
only
also
got
don't see.
4.
So time goes by. Your sister ends up. She's lost her hat.
Okay.
She's like, I'm sorry, I had to look for it, and it's gone or trampled.
Oh. Sorry about that. Look
No
at your
problem. And you see, she looks really hesitant. She's like, and you instantly know what it is. Having been raised in an Indonesian family, head being covered for a woman's kind of thing when they're out in public. When she has the hat, she doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. And she has the hat, she's like, oh. You see her pull out a scarf, and she's debating, should I put the scarf on and look ethnic, or should I just let it go and be bad? You see her struggling with herself about it.
I don't know. Do they have ways of wearing scarves on their hairs as like a decorative type thing this time, or no? I think that came in the 20s.
I'm sure you could probably improvise something. It's out of period, but you've got a mental bonus 2?
Yeah.
So you're a very intelligent person.
Okay, so see about
I call the difficulty number 4.
4. Oh yeah.
5. Make it. You quickly whip something up. She looks at it. She pulls out her compact. That is so cute. She gives you the cold shoulder again. You walk into the lecture hall.
Oh.
And I'm going to play you the intro. Actually, there's some things that happen before he starts speaking, isn't there? So part of the intro is the professor speaking to the crowd. there, we're up to there. So you start filing into lecture hall.
Mm-hmm.
Lecture hall is slammed solid. There are people lined up all the way out the hallways. Breckenridge is... Breckenridge, right? Breckenridge or Brockridge? I think it's Breckenridge. Is just swarmed with people. You push your way through the crowd. Bye! You push your way through the crowd, and it gets you into this hallway. Now, the hallway is full of people and has a T that leads to the room, right? You've got attendants here and here. The line is this way and this way. And people are trying to cut in and out of the line left and right.
Of course.
Right? Let me in, let me get my seat. You'll all have seats. The tickets have seating numbers, blah, 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 blah. But they're doing a very poor job of keeping the crowd under control.
Ah.
And then finally, someone pulls out a whistle. And the whole crowd stops. The guy puts his whistle back and goes, I am Coach Pearson from Breckenridge Physical Education Department. Everyone snickers. Letting that slight go aside, I assure you, gentlemen and ladies, we have seating for everyone. Every ticket will be accommodated. The event is sold out. We appreciate you coming for this public lecture. We appreciate you comport yourselves like the gentlemen and ladies that we have expected you to be when we invite you onto the campus for the sale of the ticket. And so everyone kind of looks ashamed because the physical education coach is shaming them into being proper gentlemen and ladies. And they all behave correctly at that point. People start filing in. Way to go, coach. Thank you. You strike past Pearson, you sit down. Now the lecture hall is a pseudo-auditorium. You've got a curtain here, lectern. And you've got seats like this. Was an amphitheater style, right? Yeah, more modern. Now, in actual older things, it's actually kind of like an octagon. You actually sit all around him in a circle. But this is a more modern facility, so they actually have like the whole starts at the amphitheater thing going in most classrooms. Where I have straight benches, you have this like 3-tiered benches like this. There's another exit on the other side of the room, and then here you have these big windows that open up to the outside, so that the whole sunlight's coming through. And they've set it for the afternoon, so that the setting sun will light everything. So it's very brightly lit. You have big glass panes that go up. You see the Brockridge, I think it's Brockridge, I say it out loud. The Brockridge college colors up there. By the lectern, you see a device that you've heard about, but you've never personally seen. Roll me a mental real quick. It'd be very easy because you've heard about it. It's only a 3. You recognize it instantly. It's a gramophone. And these have just, from what I was reading, they've been in circulation for about a decade at this point. But they're still a little rare. They're not as expensive as they were when they first came out, but they're still slightly rare. And you're looking at the gramophone going, what is going on? Right? You know? Now, your seats are in different places. Because when Charles bought the tickets, they're in different places in the room, so he bought them at separate times. The first thing that she'd want to go. She looks at it, she goes, I'm terribly sorry, but you're on the other side of the room.
That's alright.
I love Charles, but he'd be such a ditz.
It's men.
Okay, so your sister is sitting over here, and your seat's over here.
Okay.
All right? The room will sit 100 people easily.
Okay.
Okay? And then you see there are actually people lined up outside on both sides of the exits listening in.
Of course they are.
Okay? Before you listen to the intro real quick, before we play it, was there anything you want to do while we're sitting down before we get started as people are filing in?
Just kind of settle down in place and maybe look around the room, but that'd be it.
Okay. Give me a awareness test. That is a mental.
Ooh. 6, 3, and 3, 12, 14?
With a 14, you notice that there's a lot of pushing and shoving in this middle. And right here in this middle lane across from you, there's a woman, a man, and a man. And both men are trying to flirt with her, and she's just looking at the lectern. You see her occasionally look both sides, and she seems not anxious or nervous, but she seems expectant to you. Like she can't wait for this event to get started.
Wow, I'm probably right there with her.
Now, there's a lot of that going along, because this guy's famous, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what you hear next.
Give a lecture on discovering
Put that by your...
peculiar chemical and its interactions, which he had found within the human brain. Between her chaired professors and the visiting ones, London University was already fully booked. And so, the more humble Birkbeck Literary and Scientific Institution was tapped to host the event. For a fortnight now, the newspaper boys had been making an extra bob or two by hawking out flyers for the event. Surprisingly, the flyers are not littering Fetter Lane, where the Institute sits. The interest in the professor's lecture has excited not only the student body, but the armchair philosopher and the Victorian autodidact as well. Birkbeck is an excellent choice for this audience, as it has been admitting women to its classes since 1830. The good Dr. Umand has always been a witty man. His somewhat acerbic manner has made him loathed amongst academic circles, but his discoveries and ability to elucidate the principles of the body's chemistry is unmatched. So it is that as the students and audience are filing into the lecture hall, he is prepared to not only move them to wonder, but to make a few well-placed potshots at some professional rivals. Now he is introduced by the Dean of the School of Chemistry, to the riotous applause of the crowd. Dr. Umand steps out into the room and waves to the circles of chairs. The room is brightly lit by the afternoon sun. He takes a position by the lectern and, to the desk next to him, he winds up a gramophone. The students peer at the fairly new device and are hushed to silence. Good Dr. Umand raises his hands, and like a conductor commanding his orchestra, he prepares to play the room. My dear friends, colleagues, and those persons who have had their interest piqued by my articles, I thank you very much for coming today. It was my honor to accept the Dean's invitation, and I think that Birkbeck is a far better venue for the examinations of my discovery than the halls of a certain other hall of higher learning that could not find it in their hearts to accommodate us. The crowd, particularly the students, roar in approval. When they have quieted, Dr. Umand continues. But we do have limits with which we must now take action to mitigate, for the good of mankind. You see the gramophone to my left. As you can tell, I am practically yelling. I assure you this is not because I love the sound of my own voice, though it is lovely. At this, the crowd laughs. It's a good punchline. It is for the posterity of what I shall reveal to you today, for I believe I have discovered a vital, unique process in the human brain, a chemical process that has heretofore been misunderstood or ignored. Since this hall cannot accommodate all that should have been here to hear this medical news, this veritable gospel of medicine, it falls to each and every one of you to carry it forth as your own personal great commission, and to convey it as accurately and persuasively as you can. And to that end, we shall be making gramophone cylinders of this lecture and transcribing the notes for each and every one of you. And I believe in this work and its powers to heal so greatly, you shall not have to pay a farthing for it. I shall cover the entire cost. The crowd is standing, stomping, roaring at the doctor's Christian charity. That his ego has been interwoven into his graciousness doesn't really register with them. When they have quieted again, the good doctor continues. And so what is this discovery? What is it I have to share with you? Well, what if the maladies of the mind that we suffer from are not the faults of thinking, as priests in the emerging discipline of depth psychology and psychoanalysis would tell us, but a fault of internal chemistry? After the examination of nearly 1,000 criminals condemned to death and 400 other unfortunate souls who have passed on from no misdeed or sentence of the crown, I have discovered a chemical in their remains that is not present in others, and all of these deaths were of persons who reported the greatest mental afflictions before they passed: hallucinations, mania, melancholy, thoughts of suicide and despair. What if every sin we have been conditioned to think of as such is not purely a matter of choice, but has a chemical component? The attendees of the lecture inhaled as a single entity. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that all mental phenomena are composed of a chemical component. I suspect it, but I cannot yet prove that. But I can prove to you that all negative mental phenomenon do have a chemical component. Those of you who are skilled chemists realize what this means. That means there might be a way, through chemistry, to make such maladies disappear or at least be greatly mitigated in their scope. And this research is what I'm going to share with you today. The crowd applauded, roared, hooted. Dr. Human holds up his hands. He stills them. He has a momentary vision of himself as Christ, calming the stormy waves. Now, I know this has excited you, but you must keep your silence for the good of the recording. It will be your turn to ask a question later. Right now it is the cylinder's right to have its turn. The crowd laughs at this, the second punchline, and many begin clapping and hooting. Smiling at them, Dr. Human does not quite understand what happens next. A sharp pain suddenly strikes the right side of his chest. He steps backward, feeling as if someone had struck him. Then a second painful spasm racks the left side of his chest, and he pitches forward, catching himself on the lectern. The audience watches in hushed horror. Blood is spurting from the second wound in great gouts, and the doctor knows that whatever has happened, whatever the tool used, he is dying. He looks up at the audience, and he sees a face that he now recognizes. For God's sake, it was just a joke. Then he fell to the floor, his head smashing open upon the table.
Give me a mental check.
Well, shit. Didn't even get to the good parts. Oh shit.
What'd you get?
I got
Oh,
one.
that's not good. -3. -4. Okay. You have no idea what happened. You just see him pitch forward from the lectern. His head hits the tile of the floor, and it literally cracks open. Some of his brains actually leak out. Because this is such a gruesome sight, Eric has to roll a second mental check to see if they lose any sanity.
Oh, great.
This one's going to be a 5. This is Oogie.
Oh, thank God. I got a 4.
You got a 6. You make it.
So, yeah.
You manage to keep your composure. The room does not. Give me a physical as people start buffeting and moving to get out of the ring. Get out of the ring.
Oh.
People are panicking. People are screaming. Punches and curses are flying.
Okay, I got a -3.
A -3. You are knocked to the ground at some point.
Can I roll under a desk to keep from being
You
stomped
end up taking
on?
2 points of damage through a combination
Ew.
of being battered, bruised, and bumping around. Roll me a D... Actually, I'll do it. Using my random hit table, you actually get stomped of all places on the throat.
Oh, God.
It's the other side. Someone's heel collides and makes you for a couple of seconds. And the hubbub is not sure what's going on. You hear people screaming, "Close the doors! Close the doors! Lock the room! Don't let anyone out! Police! Police! Call the police! An ambulance man! He won't make it!" What do you do? Now let's get to a bit of game mechanics. So you started the game with 3 revelation points plus 1 per player. I gave you 2 more for excellent role playing, so now you're up at 6. And this is the end of a chapter. At the end of every chapter, you get 1 more. You've got 7 points to spend to investigate this. Make them good. What do you do first?
Well, everybody's like being nuts and crazy, right?
That is correct.
I don't really see there's a lot that can be done with everybody being all nuts and crazy, because there's a good chance she's going to get knocked over again if she tries anything.
So not to T-bone you, but you are the PC here, and no one else in the room and the NPC seems to have any clue of what to do.
Well, I'm not a doctor either. I don't even know what could be done to help the guy down there.
You don't see anyone moving towards the body.
I'll go over to the body then and see if maybe I can put pressure on the wound or something like that.
So that doesn't count as an investigative action because you're not actually investigating this one. You're just kind of like interacting with the scene. So you go over to the gentleman and give me a mental to see if you can diagnose how bad it is. It's going to be pretty easy. You need 2 or better.
I got a 6, 7, 8,
Did you add your mental?
9, 10.
8. 10.
10.
So you are 3 DOS, if I remember correctly. See, let me add it up. 2 is the needed. 5 would be the second DOS. 8 would be the third DOS. Yeah, okay, so you have 3 DOS. You can tell that he is dead. He died almost instantly when his head hit the ground. When his skull cracked, that did it. Between his age and the 2 gunshot wounds, he's dead. You can also tell they are gunshot wounds.
But there was no explosion of a gunshot.
Interesting that, isn't there? Now remember, I did say that there's a lot of hooting and hollering.
So maybe somebody fired during the hooting and hollering? Huh. Okay. Glance over back at the crowd.
Over at this exit, you see a brawl starting, and eventually a bunch of men are sequestered. Try and get away! I try to get away! You aren't going anywhere! And same thing at the other side. And they have sequestered 2 guys trying to leave on this side and 2 guys trying to leave on this side.
Okay, is everybody else able to leave, or are they still...
Nobody's leaving.
Okay.
Remember, someone wisely called to shut the doors so that nobody could leave.
So basically, our murderer might still actually be in the room.
Your sister comes over to you. What are you doing? Are you okay?
I kicked around a little bit. It's fine. I was gonna see if maybe...
Oh! She turns away from the body.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh my god!
I was hoping he might still have that he's dead. So, yeah, other gunshot wounds.
A gentleman in the crowd comes up and goes, "Are you a nurse?"
Chemist, but...
Aren't we all here? He says, kind of a smile. Looks down, poor sap.
Yeah, somebody shot him.
Okay, that's where he goes, "You're sure?"
Those look like gunshot wounds to me.
What happened? The crowd's demanding. He turns around. Quiet, quiet. What do we tell these people? Might we have your name, sir? Says Amina. Oh, Henry Armitage. Give me a mental on Mr. Armitage.
Guess I'll go over here. 4.
Mr. Armitage is not British.
Oh, okay.
He lacks a British accent. He's been here long enough to get a little bit of the language. You hear him using words.
Mm-hmm.
You're guessing he's American.
Okay.
He doesn't have the Australian accent either. He might be Canadian. It's hard to tell.
Why, thank you. I really needed my dice all over the floor.
That's what babies are for.
Mm-hmm. It falls down. It makes noise.
It falls down. It makes noise. Okay, fine. I won't touch them. Anyway, so what do you do next?
Okay, well...
Doesn't save your dice.
Say, well, if somebody has a gun on them...
A gun? You hear someone in the crowd say.
I'm like, I'm not... My character is sitting here thinking, why the fuck does anybody want to listen to me right now? I'm not good at talking with
looks
people.
at you like you've gone crazy, and Armitage is looking at you expectantly because you're the one talking.
Well, he was shot, so...
How do we know that? Says someone in the crowd, instantly denying it.
Do you want to go take a look at the bullet holes in him?
As a matter of fact, madam, I do.
Well, come take a look then.
And you sense there's a little bit of the male, you're a woman, what could you possibly know? He walks down, he gets close to the body. Oh, God! The crowd kind of laughs. A more seasoned, hardened soul comes up, turns the man over and goes, "Yes, indeed, these are gunshots. I would say some light caliber, 38 or less."
So I guess the question would be is who here has a gun on them?
Everyone looks at one another. Now I'm going to call that an investigation action.
Yeah.
Because you haven't really done much with the body per se, but you're now calling out an idea to the crowd of whoever's got the gun must be the murderer. So I was going to start looking for the gun. That'd be time being eaten up. Okay. So everyone starts looking for the gun. Do you bother to look for the weapon?
player inclination would be to examine the body more.
Okay, you can do that.
But I don't know if that'd be, like, how much trouble would I get in with the police for messing around with the body too much?
So this is before forensics is really a hard science.
Okay, so I could, like, mess around with it and wouldn't get too terribly upset about it. Okay, I'll examine the body a little further.
Now that I call an additional investigation action. So
Okay.
I'm going to take another revelation check from you. Okay?
What am I rolling here?
You're rolling your mental, and I would say you're chemist, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say there isn't anything in chemistry that applies, but the general field of being a learned person will allow you to add an extra +1.
So, 5?
You're looking at the body, and the first thing that occurs to you is that the bullet wounds are at different angles. If here's the body's chest, the first bullet wound went like that, and the second bullet wound went like this. Now remember, when he got hit the first time, he pitched backward. And when he came forward, make sure I have that angle right. Yes. And then when he got hit the first time, he like pitched backward and then he went forward to hit the lectern. And when he came up from the lectern, so we saw the second wound. Right? And as he made the joke of, for God's sakes, it was just a joke. Right? So you have one angle that comes slightly down from the front, and one angle looks like he was dead on.
Which, the dead on thing could be explained with him just going backward.
Back, correct.
Okay.
And because you've now done that correctly, you get the revelation point back.
So, based on the angle, I go over to the lectern and then try to gauge where somebody may have been sitting when the shot was fired.
You just earned another revelation. See how that's going to work? If the group's on task, they get to make up the loss. Okay, so you come back. How are you going to work out how that was delivered? Because the body's on the ground.
Yeah. Well, is there a fellow around there that has about the same height?
Roll mental for me. Would you like to roll on my rolling surface?
Might need to. I got 7, 8, 9.
Two ideas occur to you. The first is the one you yourself actually said of having somebody who's his height and then mark out where they are. But the problem is with that is that's not going to be very exact because all you can do is mark where the bullet hit. That won't give you enough of a thing for the angle.
Well, enough of a general idea is what I was thinking.
A more proper angle, you get two guys to hold the body up,
Oh.
put some string in the wound, and then pull it backward.
Okay.
As gruesome as that is, that would lead you directly to where that shot came from.
Okay. Are there 2 gentlemen that might help me out with something here? Have good, solid, strong stomachs?
So, you've got a bunch of men in a room who aren't very willing to listen to a woman to begin with because they're Victorian. So either take the difficulty above average to at least difficult, at least 4. And there was just a murder. So I'm going to call the difficulty 5 social.
Oh boy. It's gonna be fun.
Hold on a second. Get you a rolling surface that she's not commandeered.
I got a 5 on the floor. Can I take that?
I believe you. I believe you.
Oh. Lord knows we'll probably take off with this one too.
Okay. So,
You want to swap them?
there you go. See if she'll swap them out. So, the 2 gentlemen, burliest guys in the room, look up and like, all right, what do you need us for, madam?
If we can hold the body up, I can use a bit of string and figure out where exactly the angle of the bullet came from and be able to see exactly where the shooter was sitting. And then everybody has tickets, so...
They all stop. They all look at one another. Right, well, that's kind of brilliant. I know. And then you hear someone yell, I found a gun! You found a gun over by your sister.
I raise my eyebrow a little bit. I mean, how would she hide a gun in her clothes? Number one, in a corset wouldn't work. She'd have to hide it up her skirts. And she's wearing, like, high-end skirts. So they're floofy as fuck.
Wait a minute. Am I hearing that you suspect your sister?
I'm saying that I'm pretty sure somebody might point the finger at my sister. And I'm saying that's probably not reasonable.
Okay. Well, let's go one thing at a time. So you've got these two guys here that have offered to help you prop the body up. Here's somebody say, I found a gun. You check the gun first?
Let's get the, I'm sure it'll probably, because dead bodies are unwieldy, so it's probably going to take the guys a few minutes to get the body propped up. So while they're doing that, I'll go take a look at the gun.
I'll charge you a point. You go pick up the weapon. Now you have almost no familiarity with firearms, I assume.
I'll sniff it and see if it smells like
it has been fired.
Okay.
It is a weapon that looks like a simple handle with a trigger, and it has two tubes, one on top of the other. It's a Derringer.
Okay.
You kind of look at it, you crack it open.
Yes.
The shells are still inside. They've been fired. It is indeed a 38.
Okay. Well, I will take the gun with me back down. Well, should I leave the gun there? Wait, the police probably wouldn't give a shit.
The gun's empty unless someone loads new bullets into it. It's not a threat. You might want to leave it there.
Okay, I'll just leave it there.
Okay.
So I'll put it back down and tell people just leave it where it is.
Okay.
Oh, and go back down. I'm sure they have a ball of string down there, so I'll probably get busy with...
How many shots were there? How many shots?
2 shots.
Are you sure, madam? I didn't hear anything, nor did I. I didn't even hear shots.
You want to go look at the empty gun?
Some people go and look at the gun and go, it's a Derringer. She's right. 2 shots. 2 shots. Yes, she must be right. Yeah. Okay.
So, I'm sure at this point I'm getting out the string and seeing if the trajectory matches where the gun was.
So they hold up the body, and the guys are like, how is he standing? I don't quite remember. I just remember him falling. Well, he was at the lectern, right? Yeah, so they get him up, they get him by the lectern, and you guess they kind of have him in the same spot. Roll a mental, see if you can spot any faults with it.
Should have gotten photographic memory as an advantage.
Yeah.
I had a 6.
I would call that a success. You can tell they have the body slightly off, and although it's not a big deal up close, if the shot came from a longer distance away, you could be off by a few yards. So you go up there and...
just needle adjustment.
Oh, madam! They say. Why looks to you like you're some kind of monster? How can a woman be this... Ugh. How are we going to measure the string, madam?
Well, does someone have a spool?
So actually there's like twine and string almost every use it to bind packages, letters. Everyone's got somewhere. It's in the room somewhere.
Who gets that?
They got some twine, and they hand you a ball of twine.
Yeah, and... how to get it to where the... are there pens?
Yes.
Can I tie it around the pen, stick the pen through
the wound? The group around you is just mentally, ah! Ah! You stick it through, you pull the pin tight, you pull the string through, and now you have a true angle because the bullet went all the way through the body. You know? And a 38 is actually a pretty powerful round. The bullets actually did go all the way through him, so this will work.
Okay, and to be clear, I'm just doing it through the first, because the second shot is going to be off anyway, because he was like bent over at the time. So the first shot's really the one that I'd be looking at.
Okay.
So
they hold him up, and you pull it back.
Yeah.
Now, you're still probably not going to have like an exact thing, because you could wobble left, you could wobble right. This isn't like, you know, a laser. Give me a mental roll to try to see if you can deduce where that shot came from.
I got 7.
That's a degree of success, yeah. Okay, so you know that that shot came from somewhere in these 2 middle rows. Either the second row or the third row. And that's based on the angle of the shot. I mean, you definitely got the right direction. What's stunning you is how did the gun get all the way over there from there and nobody see it?
Well, there was a bunch of chaos earlier, so it would have been easy for somebody to ditch it.
I already charged you a point for finding out Yes, I charged you a point for finding out the angle of the shot. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you know where it came from generally. Which row it's in, you don't know. You've got a total of about 6 suspects.
Oh, okay.
Because there's 6 seats there, 3 in the middle of the second row, 3 in the middle of the third row.
Well, I know the lady and the 2 flirty guys were there, so I'll look around for them in the crowd.
The lady is over here, just minding her own business. You know, she's got another couple women with the women have kind of like flocked together, right?
Of course.
And if they didn't have a man with them, they're taking shelter together. She's just with them, and she seems to be acting appropriately. Are you going to make an observation roll on her or converse with her? Is there something specific you're doing here? Or are you just taking note of her position?
Basically I'm going to work on getting all the folks that were sitting around in here identified, and then probably observe them and see if there's anything off on their behavior.
I'm going to charge you a point for that. Okay. Give me a mental roll.
Ooh.
I'm going to say again, since this involves a little bit of like process of deduction, your college training actually does come into play, so you get a +1.
Can I reroll?
Did you not roll well?
I rolled a 1.
Oh, roll that D3.
Well, at least it's just 1.
So your mental bonus is a
2.
So the dice are out to 0, which gives you a 2, and I had a +1, gives you a 3. You succeed.
Oh.
Barely, but you succeed.
Okay.
All right. Skin of your teeth, but you do it. So it turns out that these 2 guys over here are 2 of the men from the seats, and these 2 guys over here are 2 of the men from the seats. And the last guy, no one knows where he is.
So either it was the lady or the 4 guys or the guy that probably managed to squeak out before they locked the building down.
Give me a mental test real quick. I'm going to let you draw a conclusion real quick. I really shouldn't do that, but I'm going to let you do it because I mean, I'm narrated as well.
7?
You realize there'd be no way for someone to leave the room. That room was shut almost immediately. So if they can't identify where this guy is, that means either he doesn't look like he was dressed before, or just nobody thought he was memorable. Or he may not have been in the room when it happened to begin with. He may have been out of the room for a second. Maybe he was getting here late. There were so many people trying to file in before it started, maybe he couldn't get in time.
Okay. Well, I will go and chat with the suspects then, I guess, that we currently have, and...
Okay.
I'm not a social character. This is going to be painful.
It's alright.
Well, would there be a smell of gunpowder on a person if they fired a gun?
As a matter of fact, there would be. I'm going to give you another chip. Because that is a proper deduction. Yes, if someone's fired a gun, they're going to smell of gunpowder.
My character goes up and sniffs each of these guys.
So the first gentleman is a gentleman by the name of Frederick Marshall. Write his name down there. And Marshall is a young man in his 20s. So you're going up there to basically investigate him. Give me a awareness on him.
6.
And your mental adds the total of 6?
Yeah, that was a total of 6.
Okay. You don't smell any gunpowder on him. You smell cheap aftershave, a little bit of tobacco, and he's using way too much detergent in those clothes. He needs a better service.
I will leave off the last part and not mention it because, quite frankly, that's his business.
Are you going to talk to him at all?
I guess maybe. Did you see anything strange while you were seated up there? The gunshot.
So this is our first interrogation. Roll me a d6. Add your social.
I don't have social. I got a 0 social. I have no social.
So you just have a straight die roll.
4.
Okay. Why did that not print correctly? I'll go back and check that. Okay, so you do succeed. I'll wait for you to come back.
Yeah. She's gonna start getting hungry here soon.
No problem. You want to go ahead and pause recording real quick?
No, it's fine.
It's fine, my lovely wife says. It's fine.
I'm gonna give her some bamba.
I heard that ooh.
Bamba.
Alright. So with a base success +1 on your interrogation, you get a surface or minor utility clue. What was it you asked him?
If he saw anything strange.
I saw what everybody else saw after the noise started, madam. I saw a bunch of people arguing and running, and I am reasonably sure that there were men that would have trampled that lady if I had not gotten in their way.
And just before, what was the guy's name again?
He realized the lady he's referring to is the woman that was sitting between them.
Oh, okay. And who's
Professor Human.
And before Human was shot, did you...
Sorry, I said Dr. Human.
Before Dr. Human was shot, did you see anything strange either?
No, madam. When he first pitched backward, I thought perhaps he was being dramatic and was making some grand gesture. He seemed to be fond of them from his speech. I didn't realize something was wrong until he was grabbing the lectern. At first I thought he was having a heart attack, but when he came up and I saw the blood, I realized it had to be something sinister.
Okay.
Why'd you run then? Says one. A man was bleeding. I thought perhaps something had happened to him. There was an assailant in the room. Brave of you. I wasn't aware I was being judged on my courage.
Have you ever met Dr. Human before?
I've not. I've only read his works in journals. I have, says the man next to him. A kinder, more gentler soul. Never, oh, cut it out, they all say. He was a dick and everyone knows it. So this guy next to him is a gentleman named of Ryan Hartwood.
Oh, okay. Ask him kind of... Well, sniff him first.
That's going to be another point.
Okay.
So you sniff him.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a mental.
Apparently I have a wolfhound nose. 13?
He doesn't smell of gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
He smells of whatever it was he was eating, some kind of garlicky thing. He must have a love of French food, the poor man. And he looks a little disheveled from where the people have been costly and holding. He's trying to get away.
Oh, okay. Ask him kind of the same questions.
Give me another interrogation check. I'd also call this one a base 3.
4.
What do you ask him?
Same questions. Did he see anything after or before? Did he know?
All I saw was the chaos. I was afraid that so many people in the room, we'd all be trampled. So I ran trying to get to the door before I was trampled to death.
And did you know Dr. Human?
I did not.
Okay. Then go over to the other two guys.
Okay.
And rinse, repeat, basically.
Rinse, repeat, you say.
Rinse, repeat.
Okay.
Smell them. Ask them questions. Same kind of questions, unless,
This is fine. So you have 2 other men. Do you check the men first? On the other side of the room?
Well, let's see. I talked with these guys, right?
Correct.
So I'll actually go over to the woman because she'll go closer.
The woman next.
Yeah.
Okay. I take that one as another chip. It's another action stunt. You're starting to get low.
Hello.
Roll me a mental.
4.
Okay, give me 1 second. Sure I have everything done. Shh.
Nice.
Let me drop that clue there. Okay, I have a plot map for the game that we run to make sure I have the mystery set up. And I'm just marking off which clues you've discovered, which you haven't. Okay, so you go up to the lady, and she sees you approaching, and she looks at you, and your first impression of her is that she's having the typical female reaction a Victorian woman expects. She's distressed.
Okay.
Oh my God, dear, your hands, there's blood on them.
Yeah, there's a body down there.
She goes like this, and it's then that she knows that she has a muff that her hands were in.
Ew, that could have been how she could have transported the gun in if it's her.
I'm so sorry, dear.
So,
She quickly puts her hands back in the muff. Now, give me another mental on her hands as they're going from her mouth to the muff. Because you're now watching her since you're interacting with her. Total? Is that a negative?
that's a negative.
You don't notice anything strange about it. Your character assumes that either she's cold or she's got some condition where she needs to have the hands warmed. Keep in mind that there's a lot of anemia and things like that going on, and women are prescribed all kinds of strange cures in this time period.
Well, I still sniff her like I do everybody else.
She smells of rubbing alcohol.
Which could have been used to get the smell of the gunpowder off, possibly.
I am giving you a revelation chip because, yes, that could be one use of the rubbing alcohol.
Oh, okay.
But it is also something that's fairly common, and you are here for a chemistry lecture. Maybe she was just coming from an experiment.
I eyeballed the muff thing to see if it would be the right size for her to tuck a gun inside of.
So your character is not that familiar with firearms. Roll me a mental. I'm going to call this difficulty 5 because she's not. Well, no, 5's it looks strange.
Well, I
Let's
just
make it a 4.
literally had the gun in my hand before, so I'm like just
Right, I
approximation.
understand that. I'm going to call it a 4, which is difficult.
No.
You look at the muff, and to you, it does not look big enough to hold the first gun, much less another one. It's a standard muffle that's just big enough to put your hands in like that.
Okay.
It goes from like this to her wrist.
Okay.
So in the muffle itself, it doesn't look like it's big enough.
Well, I'll ask her the same questions. Like, did she notice anything strange before
Give me another
or
interrogation check.
after? Did she know
That's a
Dr.
social.
Human? 4? Wait, no, 2.
Okay.
My bad, 2.
You have a total of 2?
2, yeah.
No, I'm so sorry. Everything happened so fast. I was looking forward to hearing Dr. Human's lecture, and I can't believe I just witnessed a murder.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. And if you just maybe want
Clearly
to
not,
see?
says one of the women looking at you with disdain at your heritedness.
Somebody's got to figure out who killed him. Turned around.
Wouldn't that be a job for the police?
Just wave my hand and go over to the other 2 guys.
Okay.
Stupid women that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're probably only here for the sheer fascination of the lecture, not because they're actual chemists, that kind of thing.
So the next gentleman's name... Oh, I'm sorry. You actually didn't ask her name. I'm going to say
yeah.
at some point in the conversation, ask her name.
Yeah.
Her name is... Judith Ryan, is that right? Hold on. I wrote it on here. Or did I write it on the outline? Oh, it's on the outline. Eleanor Ryan. So she was Eleanor Ryan.
Okay.
The next gentleman is a Solomon Kirkney. And one look at him, and the sound of his voice, you tell he's Irish. Roll a mental.
What am I rolling mental for?
Just roll a mental.
Eight, 9, 10.
One look at Mr. Kirkney, and you know immediately this man is trouble.
Okay.
He's broad, he's muscular, he doesn't look like an academic, and he's Irish.
Okay.
He has managed to bloody the nose and blacken the eyes of one of the men holding him, and is still trying to stomp one of them before they wrestle him to the ground to hold him down. It takes 4 guys to hold this guy down. Let go of me, you wee shite! You steal my guts! And once actually shoved a rag in his mouth and get him to shut up.
Mr. What did you say his name is?
Courtney.
Mr. Courtney, would you mind if I asked you a few questions?
I don't speak Gaelic, but I'm pretty sure that was nothing polite to be said in the bars of a lady. This is one man holding it.
Well, still try to sniff him without getting clocked.
He does not smell like gunpowder.
Okay. Pull the rag out of his mouth.
Tell your dogs to let me out, you fucking bitch!
Are you going to try to hit anyone else?
Yes, between me and getting out of here, yes! I didn't do nothing! Nothing!
Well, then maybe you can help me find the one who did do something instead of sitting there and acting the fool.
I'm not a snitch!
So you saw something, is what you're saying?
I'm saying nothing! Nothing! Roll interrogation. I won't charge you a chip for this.
Oh, fuck.
You've been in Britain long enough to pick up certain English prejudices and ones against the Irish. He's being stereotypically Irish. Bullheaded. He's probably going to get out before the police arrive because he's done something minorly illegal.
The quicker you can help us, the quicker you can leave.
The guys holding him look at you like you've gone mad. No one should leave, madam, says one of them.
Well, obviously.
The men all look at you like, what is this sorcery she is spouting? Does she not realize she's not making sense?
But I kind of shoot a wink over at the Irishman.
Well, I suppose we could let the bloke go. Obviously, he's not intelligent enough to commit a murder. You say I'm dumb? If the collar fits, Pikey, I'm just saying. And they start going back and forth real quick. Come back to him later, says one of the men when he's calmed down a little.
Go over to the other guy. Same thing. Sniff.
The last guy is Gillard Friendly.
Gillard Friendly. Hopefully he's friendly.
Say, this is atrocious. I'm a gentleman. I should not be handled like this.
Am I rolling for mental things?
Yep.
I got a 6.
You can tell that he's indeed a gentleman. He is too pasty and lithe and wan to be anything but. He's probably never worked a hard day in his life. You suspect him having interesting chemistry for certain matters.
Okay. Does he smell like gunpowder?
Nobody smells like cocaine.
So the only one here would be rubbing alcohol lady. Possibly. Everybody else, somebody would have had the smell of gunpowder on them more than likely. Okay, well, I'll ask him the same questions. Did you see anything strange before or during? Did you know Mr. Human?
The only thing I noticed was that the lady sitting behind me seemed very intent on being able to see Dr. Human.
That's something that I noticed too, wasn't it?
You did indeed.
Okay. So, where to go from here? I guess I would need to figure out. Honestly, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of.
So here's where we get to hints, clues, and breaks in the case. You've got 4 points left. If you give me 2 of them, I can give you a roll to get a hint or a clue. But it only leaves you with 2 points. And it's a roll, it's not a guarantee. Why don't you think through it for a little bit before we do that? So let's review what you know. You know you've got a definite line of travel from the bullet. You know you have a general area where it came from. How the gun go over here, you still haven't established.
The
but it may not
lady's
be
over
important.
there.
The lady is somewhat near that direction. You're correct.
Yeah.
But so are the other guys. The only one of them that you think is suspicious smelling is the lady because she smells like rubbing alcohol. And none of them smell like gunpowder. Okay? It sounds to me like the next question you should be asking yourself is, how could someone avoid smelling like gunpowder? And you're a chemist. You might have some ideas on that.
Okay. The mental roll?
I will charge you 1 chip for that. So you're down to 3.
5?
It occurs to you that the smell from gunpowder comes from the residue of the powder itself.
Hold on. Would I get a bonus for my chemistry thing?
Yes, 2.
So that would be 7.
7, so you actually have an extra DOS on this. Okay. It occurs to you the smell of gunpowder comes from the residue of gunpowder itself.
Mm-hmm.
If they fired the gun,
Mm-hmm.
the gunpowder gets all over their hands and their clothing.
Yeah.
So if you can't find gunpowder on them or they don't smell like gunpowder, the powder had to go somewhere. Like maybe where they were sitting.
Okay, I go examine the seats.
You find the gunpowder residue from the shot from where the woman was sitting. It is definitely coming from her seat.
Oh.
Now that doesn't prove that she exactly fired it. Alright? And the reason I say this is because the guy sitting next to her on either side could have leaned over
Is
and
the
fired.
gunpowder
But it's very indicative that she probably did.
Is the gunpowder residue more prevalent on one side or the other?
It is slightly more prevalent to the right.
So her, and who was the guy sitting next to her?
The guy sitting next to her was
On the right side?
Frederick, right? Yeah, Fred Marshall.
Okay, so that narrows down to those 2 suspects. And Fred Marshall, who was him again? Who is he?
He was one of the gentlemen that had met Mr. Umit before and claimed that he knew him and knew his thumb.
So he's met him.
Do I have that right?
I don't know.
Oh no, that was Ryan. I'm sorry. Fred's the first person you actually spoke to.
Oh, okay. So he's the first person I spoke to.
The first man you spoke to. Or the Mr.
Okay.
Armitage, who was the first person on the scene next to the lectern.
Okay. So you've got 2 suspects. Were either one of them wearing gloves?
You go back and check all of them for gloves. Give me an observation check.
I mean, she's got the muff thing, but 6, 8, 9, 10, 11.
None of them are wearing gloves. None of them have any specks on the collars of their white shirts. The only one that might have any specks of gunpowder might be, you're looking at the lady, she's wearing a dark dress, and the muff is dark too.
So it wouldn't show up because it's dark. Does the lecture hall have any chemistry equipment in it?
As this was a chemical lecture, there is actually a chemicals table set up to the side that he was going to use to demonstrate some experiments.
So would there be anything there I could use in order to determine if somebody has gunpowder on their clothing?
You're down to 1 chip. Give me a mental.
Apparently I'm a dum-dum. Well, let's see,
Mental
I got
is 2,
4. Well,
and
mental
you're-
is 2 and chemistry is another 2.
So you have a base 4. You still succeed. I'm going to charge you with 3. Go to the table and you find something that, if it interacts with gunpowder, they really have the whole thing we have now where you can actually have that color appear on gunpowder, but you would find something that caused some kind of reaction of some state. Let's say it has some kind of odor that there's gunpowder present, will react and create an odor. That seems a good thing to have.
Okay. So, whip some up. Judge, like, okay, if she was sitting at the table with her, she probably... See, there's no, like, thing in front of the tables, right? Not like a wood piece that's open.
Correct.
So she could have been seated at the table and had it underneath the table and taken a shot, possibly.
Hell of a shot to hit a man twice at that range with a Derringer.
True.
How did she do that without aiming?
Huh.
I bring that up because in addition to solving the case, you got to have enough evidence to have the police believe you.
That is a good question.
I mean, that's at least 60, 70 feet. For an untrained marksman, hitting something past 50 feet is a feat. She's a woman.
Do Derringers have a lot of kickback?
Nope.
No? Okay.
38's pretty light round.
Oh.
As far as the recoil goes.
Okay. I don't know. I would ask if he has any correspondence on him or anything like that, but I don't think people probably walked around with that kind of stuff.
No, not normally, but he might. He had lecture notes and a bunch of other things with him. You go check his notes and everything, check his pockets.
Okay, yeah.
That's going to be your last investigation point. Unless it comes up with a success. Give me a mental.
4?
You're rifling through his papers and you find a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And the letter is a draft. And in it, you read it real quick and you see something about he hopes his research makes up for the sins of his youth. He can't stop thinking about Hadley and what he did to her. And that it really wasn't right what him and his friends did. And that he's always kind of been interested in depression since it happened. As he phrases it, the unfortunate incident happened.
No.
Hadley's a woman's name. Whatever this means, you have no idea.
Okay. Really helpful.
In the lecture notes,
Mm-hmm.
you notice that the bulk of the clients he was examining that weren't criminals all come from one town, a town called Worcestershire. It's in the northern part of England near Scotland. It's in the borderlands.
Go ask the two folks, Fred and what's-her-face, where they hail from.
The only person from Worcestershire
Mm-hmm.
is Eleanor. Give me a mental on this real quick.
No. I rolled 1.
Okay. So I'm having a dilemma of that. The letters and stuff are a really good clue and it was a good idea. To keep you from having to have a +2 to actions, I'm going to let you have 1 chip remaining. Because you did find some evidence that links to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 1 player, so theoretically you could give me a idea request, which is 1 point per player, and we're over halfway through the adventure, so I could take that 1 chip and give you an idea.
Okay. 'Cause I'm really out of ideas.
So most of this guy's researchers are all in the same town, and he's regretting something happened in his youth. And you know that she's from the town.
Mm-hmm.
Approach her with something about the town and the research and see what she does.
Okay.
Like, drop Hadley's name. Like, did you know that he was running some kind of experiments on Hadley? Do you know a Hadley from Worcestershire?
Okay, so she'll say it just that way, like he
Give
said
me a
it.
social. You do need to roleplay this, though. But it is a role-playing game.
I got a 2.
So you walk up to her. Eleanor's like, again, please, can't you just leave me alone? I'm so distraught.
Well, you're from Worcestershire, right?
I imagine other people from Worcestershire as well.
Well, I'm just asking because I was looking through his research notes, and I noticed he's been doing a lot of research out of Worcestershire, and something about a Hadley came up in there as well, so I was just trying to determine if maybe perhaps you had any information on that.
By 1 point, she failed the success rating. When you say the name Hadley, her face suddenly goes... You wouldn't say angry, but she goes very stern for a second, and then she's back to being normal. And you know you're onto something. Get the point back.
So, do you happen to have any information about that at all?
Well, I really don't know who this Hadley would be. Worcestershire is not a small village. It is a town.
All right. There was no like news about whatever this from the sound of the notes. It sounded like something fairly significant happened.
What's your fate?
0.
Roll a fate test for me.
5.
Pass it. One of the people next to her goes, Wait a minute, Whitenshaw.
Yeah.
Hadley.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there a Hadley Ryan that committed suicide in Whitenshaw? Jumped from the top of the church. I would get the papers.
Yeah, there was a... Was it Frederick? Oh, no, wasn't there some guy named Ryan in the thing? Which one was named Ryan? I don't remember.
She's Eleanor Ryan.
Oh, Eleanor. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember who was last name.
Yes, I seem to recall something about that, but I do not know the woman, says Eleanor.
Really? Share a similar last name?
And I would need a roll to see through that if she's deceiving you.
Is that a mental test?
It is a mental test.
I only got 3 for 5.
Because you know
Mm-hmm.
that she's up to something, but you're not sure what, you can say she's being evasive, I'm going to give you an extra +2.
Okay.
Which brings your total to?
6, 7?
You beat her by a point. Oh, you know she knows that woman.
I took the letter draft and I'm like, I didn't show it to her. And I'm like, I don't know. Are you absolutely sure that you don't know anything about this one? After all, it sounds like something horrible that he was deeply apologetic for happened.
I'm rolling really well for her. Roll again.
Oh. I only got a 2. Wait, is this mental?
This is mental.
So 4.
So you're now actually in the process of interrogating her, so I'm going to take one of the points. Person, you're interrogating her. As I said before, I do not know a Hadley Ryan. Ryan is a very common name in the Borderlands.
Alright, I guess... How would I approach it from here? Something to do with a Hadley Ryan, who's more than likely related to her in some way, and she was probably trying to seek revenge.
You're starting to hear whistles. Now, whistles are typically what the police carry. They whistle to signal that they need help with their officers. People tend to get out of the way when they hear those whistles.
Okay.
Clear the streets in case someone's going to start shooting or an officer whips out a sword. Because, yes, I was not aware of this, but the Bobbies actually carry swords as well as clubs until they're all issued firearms, which won't happen for some time yet.
Okay. So, well, can I apply the chemical to her clothing to see if the gunpowder smell comes up?
Do you want to try to do that discreetly, or are you just going to demand it?
I'll just like trip and dump it on the spot.
And to charge you your point, roll a physical.
Oh, I got a -1 on my physical. I miss Benny's.
Don't you have art?
No. Oh wait, I do. I have 12. What can I do
Okay,
with
so
that?
make the roll first.
Oh.
You won't need to. Art lets you do things deftly. So if you feel you can spend art to try to pass the test.
6, 7, 8, 9, then there's a -1, so it's probably more like an 8.
You trip and spill it on her. She doesn't understand what's happened. Sure as shit, you smell it coming from the muff.
I snag the muff out of her hands and look inside of it.
Roll initiatives. Several things are about to happen at once.
I got a 4. Am I adding anything to that?
Your physical.
3.
So you have a 3.
Oh.
Acting 1 point before you, she rips her sleeve. You notice that one of her sleeves, her right sleeve, was actually already ripped open.
Mm-hmm.
She rips her sleeve, goes like this, and a derringer pops up into her hand.
Oh.
The muff was too small to hide it, but her whole voluminous sleeve
I
could
didn't
hide
know,
the derringer.
I didn't know her sleeves were voluminous. Otherwise, I would have looked up her sleeves.
I apologize. That was my bad. Let me give you a point back for that.
It's like
I did say she was sleeved. I must have thought when I said sleeved, you would realize it was voluminous sleeves.
No, I thought it because the Victorian ladies, a lot of them wore
You're
very
right, so they do have
closely fitted sleeves. So I actually didn't.
I should have done that. But she was like that. The derringer comes up. She grabs the woman next to her by the hair.
Oh boy.
Puts the derringer under her chin. Pulls back against the wall. Looks left and right, and everyone kind of backs up, and it's just you and her. And she issues command. Back away or I'll splatter this bitch's brains all over the wall. No one moves. The command is not as intimidating as she wants because she came up with a total of 1.
Oh.
It's my pen. I need that. You got one already.
But I want another one.
Obviously, at this point, the investigation is over. And you can see, like, right there, you were teetering on the edge of it a lot.
Yeah.
Grabby baby! Grabby baby, let Daddy have the role-playing game. Thank you. Alright. Then it is your turn to go. What do you do?
I don't friggin' know. It's not like I have a weapon on me or anything like
So
that.
combat works just like combat in my other games. You have 3 actions a turn.
Still, I don't. She's got a gun to somebody's head. Wish I had thought of maybe mixing up a chemical that I could have used as a weapon or something, but she got her back to a wall.
Back's to a wall.
Okay.
That's why she was trying to move over that way, so I moved her that way. So I'm going to get behind her.
Wish I still had that long roddy thing from Holmes, because then I could have used that to click. Gee, I honestly don't really know because she's got a gun to Lily's head.
I said out of the way, everyone! The men are like looking at each other, and you can tell they're all thinking, the woman's life at stake. It's a woman holding her prisoner. We can take her. And you see each man in the room is thinking, how do I get that gun away from the girl without it going off?
Yeah.
They all want to rush into this. We curtail the Victorians a lot. One of the things that was beneficial about the ethic is that there's a certain kind of behavior expected of men. And in a public like this, it will come out.
Yeah. If I were a more social character, I'd try to talk her down, but I'm not a social character, so I don't think that would be a good idea. What was the joke?
Damn. That's good. What?
He said down there after you shot him. What was the joke? It was just a joke, so what was the joke?
Hadley had a cleft palate. She tried to kiss Hemet when she was sweet on him, and Hemet and his friends laughed at the attempt. And she became so desperate from it, thinking it would ever love her that she cursed God and jumped from the top of the church. The whole room is just quiet. He had come to the funeral. They didn't say anything, and even if they had, what crime had committed? It was just boys be boys, right?
True. I can understand how upset you are about that. Greatly misfortunate.
Give me another social. You're trying to basically interact with this person, talk them down, it seems like, after all.
I guess.
Now,
Fuck.
just like my other systems, if you want to concentrate the action speed, all that you do for the round, I'll let you have an extra +1 to it.
Can I do that?
Certainly.
Freaking one.
And you also rolled before I was looking.
Oh. So, well, that's better.
Now, the social temper is called panache, but I don't think you have it.
No, I do not have panache.
You have art and what else?
I have art and elan.
Elan, okay.
Yeah.
Give me an elan roll. Roll a d6 based off your physical.
Okay. Well, I got an 11 as far as the talking down part goes.
Nice.
Elan, I'm rolling a d6, you said?
Uh-huh.
3.
So the way I arrange this is there's certain tests you can make those attributes. This will cost you 1 point of elan. Elan is the ability to act quickly and decisively.
Okay.
You look around the room quickly, and you realize that for her to get this woman out of the room like she's trying to do and hold the gun to her head, there's going to come a point where her back is not going to be able to beat to a wall. All it would take is a distraction. You get her to look one way. You could quickly grab that gun and pull it away. It's a derringer. It's only got 2 shots. You pull away and duck your head, she'll probably by reflex pull the trigger and fire both barrels. All you just point it up, make sure it doesn't hit anybody.
Okay.
And now that you have that with your elan spent, I will give you a +1 to make that happen. That is what
Okay.
you wish to attempt.
Yeah.
You reach forward, grab it, pull.
I guess I gotta roll a physical.
I won't charge you a movement action because you were right there talking to her. Roll physical. She wouldn't know to resist it, so you just need like a 3.
I rolled a 1.
You reach and grab the wrist. You go to pull, and the weapon goes off close to you. Give me another mental. You are blinded for 1 round. You're not sure how many times the weapon fired, but seeing you move and seeing the gun go, the woman immediately takes the woman she was holding prisoner and tosses her into you
Okay.
and tries to get the gun away from you.
I
What's
guess
your
I gotta
strength?
roll. Is that a physical?
Yeah.
And it's a -1.
Okay, so I have to beat them at 2 or better. Barely just. You feel the weapon rip out of your hand, and you hear her say, "Cost me my sister's revenge, then I'll take your sister too!" And you can't really see what happens, but you hear the gunfire, you hear your sister scream. Roll a mental.
Bitch is dead.
You don't lose any sanity. You hear a bunch of guffaws, a bunch of riots, blah, 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 blah. And when you finally get your eyes back and you look, you can see, you can't hear out of this ear. The woman whose life you saved is alive and is holding you, thanking you, thanking you, thanking you. 2 men have got her to the ground. They've had to wrestle her down. She's knifed one of them, who's holding his arm where he got knifed. And she came prepared.
Where's Amina?
Amina is off, standing by the lectern when you last saw her. And she is shaking. And she's like, and the bullet clipped her.
Oh, thank goodness.
She is hit, but it's nowhere vital.
Okay.
She looks at you, is relieved you're alive, but looks over, sees the wound.
Faints, I'm sure.
Oh dear. I should sit down. Yes, madam, a couple of men help her down. She does not faint. You're lucky.
Oh. Okay then.
The police now arrive about 5 minutes after this. They push their way through the crowd. They see everything that's going on. They see the dead body. They see the woman being held down. Like, what happened here?
She shot him.
That little thing?
Look at her sleeves. They're all ripped up and she had guns tucked up inside of them.
She knifed me too, said the men holding her down. She basically all admitted it to us. And people started giving their statements. Someone comes over, starts treating your sister. One of the inspectors comes over to you. He goes, "Hello, I'm DCI Graviton, and I need to take a statement about it. I'm sorry. I hear that basically from what I'm hearing from some people is that you basically solved this."
I suppose there was a shot in the dark.
Well, no offense, madam, but don't tell my bosses I need my job.
Don't worry, I definitely don't want you.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, I don't relate.
I need you to roll mental against him.
Mental.
Mental against him.
4, 5, 6.
Oh, you're the defender. He's trying to flirt with you,
Oh.
and you don't have to be impressed if you don't want to be.
She'd probably get a little shy about it, because, I mean, she's got facial scars. She probably hasn't been flirted with very much, so it would probably make her feel a little awkward and
So was your
shy.
first indication that Miss Ryan over there was the...
She smelled like rubbing alcohol.
That doesn't seem very suspicious.
If you want to get rid of the smell of gunpowder.
True, but that would mean that you had to have some reason to suspect she would have fired anyway. Why did you?
Well, you see, I did this thing with the string.
Now, no one ever declared the strings out of the bodies. So the pins and the string are still in the corpse. Right? Leaning back to the chair. Well, he also says, "Detective, look at this." And you look and you see what everyone missed. I don't know why you didn't think about this. Is when you trace the path of the bullets.
Yeah.
When she was asking to get out of the way, the minute guy said he had to get out of the way, that path went right through where he would have been sitting. And the bullet, as you look, the second round actually nicked part of the desk.
Oh, I didn't even think about
But
that.
it's a very hard thing to miss and catch because you didn't declare you were checking the desks. You have to specifically look on the desk for it.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Even then it was a difficulty 6 to find. That was something I wrote in the notes.
I
But
probably should have, because I thought I was inspecting those before, but it must not have been clear.
the way I'd written the adventure is that seeking the lines is one thing, because then you're concentrating on the line. But actually see where the bullet nicked the desk would be have to look at that desk.
Yeah, but I said before I was looking at where they were sitting.
Right.
That was kind of like an in general, like not just the chairs, but like in general everywhere where they were sitting. But that was my bad for not being more explicit and clear.
Oh. Detective looks at it, looks at where you pointed the shot come from, and goes, but how has she been a good enough marksman to fire from underneath the desk and hit him without seeing it?
Well, unfortunately, she started going stark raving crazy before I could get to that part.
He flips it over. I'll have to see about that. It's not going to look good in court if we can't convince the jury that she had the skill to fire the weapon. DCI! The janitor wants to have a word with you. Jenna comes over, and this was a clue that you missed that you could have gotten to by interviewing different people, but you went a different way around the points.
Oh, okay.
Jenna comes over, and you learn from one of the janitors. Detective, I just wanted to tell you that I know Miss Ryan. She's been to several lectures over the past year. She's made it very particular to always sit in that seat. Really? Why that seat? Well, I don't know, Detective. She was always particular about sitting right there. Detective goes, Shot's basically a exercise in geometry. She sat there long enough, she probably figured out the angle about where he would be standing when to fire. Writes down that note. And she seems to be fairly intelligent. For a year? Every lecture? Specifically this hall, sir. When was his lecture first planned? Oh, it's been planned for about 2 years, sir, but we had a backlog. Forewarning. It's starting to look pretty damning. And what's this about? I see she's somehow related to a suicide?
I produced the letter that I found on the guy.
Possible relation to the victim. Turns out they're sisters. Right, okay. I have to say, madam, that is a decent bit of detection.
Oh. Thank you, I suppose.
Yeah, he looks at you a little warily.
If it's any consolation, I've been working as a maid with Mr. Holmes, so perhaps some of his ridiculous...
With who?
Holmes. I tried
The
to...
nut?
Yes. Did you know that he made the whole house smell like
His
sulfur?
attitude completely changes. Right, we're done here. Don't leave town. They're at the point in the story they don't like him yet.
Oh. Well, she doesn't like him either, so why the hell is
mutual.
it getting, like... Oh.
The detectives and the police begin rallying at the scene. They take statements. People start being released slowly. It is 7 in the evening before you're finally allowed to leave. A combination of people leaving the room, keeping the scene shut, all that. So when you come out, it's dark of night. You got the London sounds. Your sister's not speaking to you because in the time that it's come from the arrest to that, she realizes you could have gotten her killed. Definitely think you're not invited to the wedding now.
She wasn't invited in the first place. So
You shouldn't show up, I should say. So your sister's there giving you the cold shoulder, like
She wasn't planning on showing up anyway.
holding her wounded arm. Amina, in the future, could you please let the police perform their duties?
I mean, Mila?
Sorry, Mila. Could you please let the police perform their duties?
Yeah, because it worked so well with Mom and Dad.
Yes, I recall it was your fault too. I don't think I wish to ride home in a cab with you. And your sister proceeds to walk away and hail down another cab.
Now she's just feeling depressed.
Although it's spring, it's London. London sits next to a river. A fog starts rolling in.
Oh, I'm gonna grab a cab.
Matching your mood. What do you do?
Grab a cab to go home.
Roll me a fate.
3.
First cab gets off by, takes one look at you, goes, "No wogs in my cab," and he takes off. It's a derogatory slur to anyone who's not white.
Try again.
Second cabbie says the same thing. You may have to end up walking.
Try one more time.
Roll another fate.
5.
Yeah, I can take you, but gonna be a high penny. halfpenny.
Halfpenny? Okay. Well, she probably has a halfpenny.
Yeah. Takes the halfpenny. Get in.
Okay. Links in.
Right home on the clattering stones and in the mog. The mog, that's good. and the almost smothering fog of London, as I was trying to say. Intensifies your character's depression. The time she gets home, she is very depressed. What would she do when she's very depressed?
She's gonna go down to her chemistry lab and just throw herself into...
Into her work?
Yeah.
Okay. So that did not happen. Give me a mental roll to see how well you sleep that night, because that was a pretty traumatic experience.
2, 4.
You wake up with no loss of... 4, okay. You wake up with no loss of sanity, and you sleep a little fitfully, but you sleep well enough you don't have any nightmares. You get a full night's rest. You're just a little draggy.
Okay.
Madam.
Yes, Betty?
Breakfast is ready.
Oh, alright. I'll be right there.
She's got breakfast served for you, and the morning paper.
She eyeballs the morning paper like, do I really want to open this up and read it? She kind of flicks it open to see what the headline is.
The case is not on the front page. This is like page 4 or so. It is with other things in the crime report. You are not mentioned.
Figured.
It seems that the DCI had a startling flash of insight from talking to witnesses at the scene that the woman had some kind of hysterical outburst that caused her to draw the weapon prematurely in an attempt of her trying to escape.
Well, now if he ever tries to flirt with me again, he's going to get the cold shoulder.
Might not be his fault. Could be the reporters. You don't know. But yeah, Gravelton's going to have a bit of a fence to mend there, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It is sensationalized. Unit is immortalized as being a visionary doctor ahead of his time, a great light of humanity whose life was cut short.
Take that particular page of the newspaper and chuck it in the fire.
Madam, you wanted me to tell you to not be late for work. You've got about 40 minutes to hit there.
Oh. Right. Thank you, Betty.
You're welcome, madam.
You're very good to me, Betty.
You deserve it, madam.
You know, if you want to take a day off early today, go right on ahead.
Why, thank you, madam. I think I'll take my young George to the park.
Goes and gets ready.
Get back into your clothes.
No.
Give me a fate check for getting across London without being accosted.
4.
You don't have any incidents as you're going across London. The cab ride is, as you would expect, the same kind of pleasant clacker, clicker, clacker. Almost boring routine. You stop out in front of 221. You walk into the foyer, and the first person that greets you is Watson, who's sitting in the foyer on a bench waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Dr. Watson?
What's your character's last name?
I don't know. That's something I was debating on still.
Miss Milo, you've had quite the adventure.
I suppose so.
We have friends in the yard, Miss Milo. You know what happened. Even if the rest of London doesn't. And there's someone who'd like to speak to you. Please follow me, because we'll walk up the stairs towards Holmes's room.
Do I have to?
Watson sighs. Leans close to whispers in your ear. Dear madam, I have spent the better part of all of yesterday telling him how he's being a callow little cad. And he wasn't convinced that you had any merit until our Inspector Lestrade showed up to brag about how they solved the case. Holmes didn't believe him. Holmes did a little bit of fishing, and I would like to speak with you.
Alrighty, I suppose he can just tell me how terrible a detective I was. As I walks up the stairs.
Yes, Enta. Watson enters with you. Holmes, do remember, you promised to be civil. Yes, Watson. Yes. Mr. Holmes has actually got a sifter of brandy in his hand. It's early in the morning. He's already drinking?
It's also Holmes. This guy's kind of a nutball, so I don't think my character is really going to bat an eye at that.
He turns and regards you with those keen aquiline features. He looks almost like a Roman patrician passing judgment.
Okay. I just look mildly back at him.
Miss Smiley, I have spent my entire life learning and honing the skill of deduction. But apparently it is still something I am practicing rather than have perfected. And when I first met you, I assumed that it was due to a typical lack of feminine bumbling and inattention that the accident at your home had happened. But upon seeing your frankly exemplary behavior in the matter that took place at the college, I can think of no better way that the situation could have been resolved. I mean, if I had been there, obviously I would have knocked the one. He looks over your shoulder, and you sense that Watson's giving him a disapproving look. Holmes stops himself. The point of the matter is, madam, he lifts the glass towards you. You deserve to be saluted. Watson hands you a drink.
Technically it's supposed to be working.
Yes, about that. I've had a discussion with Miss Hudson, and we both agree it would be best if you were to not work here anymore under her employment. You don't have the temperament for it.
Take the shoot it back.
So since I have offended you and cost you your job, it seems only right that I should make up for it. Well. I've taken it upon myself to solve various criminal matters the police find. Are we still recording? I don't see it moving.
Yeah, we are. It's just...
Oh, frozen?
Yeah.
I don't want to lose the session.
Anytime for some reason that doesn't go to a screensaver, I don't know.
No problem. I still want to lose the session.
Yeah.
Because that happens on my recording device sometimes. It makes me panic. Alright, so back up. So Holmes goes, I've taken it upon myself to take up matters the police find beyond their abilities. There are so many. And I find I could solve all these, but many of them are beneath my powers.
Alright.
I think I need to take on students of detection. I'd like for you to be one of the first.
Just kind of blinking. She's like, I'm a chemist.
Exactly. I thoroughly believe that's why you so logically came to the conclusions you came to during the case. Remember, Holmes is a chemist himself. When he's not busy blowing things up.
Exactly what would this tutelage involve?
You would take to solve cases of interest, not all of them criminal. Some of them are just curiosities and mysteries that need to be solved and explained. Not everything I solve is grandiose matters. There is some discretion involved if the act is not criminal, but is merely civil that we are investigating, and there is a question of discretion, preservation of good names and such. We err on the side of civility. Yes? Head pops in. You see this incredibly handsome Spanish man pop his head in the window. Perdona, I am very sorry. My English is still not exact. Hush, Armando. I saw you act in Paris. I know you can speak English and French and Latin. I'm curious, Mr. Holmes, about why you wish to see me. Closes the door behind him, swirls his cape, and it looks vaguely familiar. You're not sure where. Roll mental.
5. Or wait, 7.
You do recognize him. This is a stage magician, the amazing Armando. And you seem to recall something about there being a problem in Seville with someone's married wife.
Ooh. Right, horny bard.
Armando, please sit. Armando sits with a flourish. He does nothing without flair.
Oh, God.
Armando, I was just introducing Miss Mila here to my proposition. Oh, yes. Takes out the letter. I must say I was very struck that you wanted me on such an organization. Why is that? Because your art involves social interaction and mechanical acumen. A lot of illusions are done with mechanical devices, things of that nature. As well as misdirection, you might be able to spot these things. We have our chemist, we have our charming influence. Latin influence, Armando says, with no sense of shame. And we'll have a couple of more people joining soon. It pays well.
I have nothing better to do now.
Excellent. Which brings us to the first matter. Holmes goes over, pulls out a book, sets the book down. It is tradition to give our matters little titles. Watson likes to chronicle them. We change some names and dates to save the identities of people, but the essentials are all there. He's decided to call this matter the what again? The Apostle's Pocket Watch. Oh yes, the Apostle's Pocket Watch. Holmes rolls his eyes at the grandiose, sensationalist title. It's a simple theft. It's not so simple. And I have my suspicions on what it actually is. But I find myself currently involved in a matter of state. So I was wondering if you and this new group of students might look into it for me. At the end of each of your cases, we will have an evening, we review what you did, and I will correct you where you went wrong, and make suggestions for how you can improve your practice.
All right.
Sadly, Paris is not going to see me for some time, Monsieur Holmes. Or do you prefer Senor? I prefer Mr. Very well, Mr. Holmes Esquire, says Armando with a bit of snide in his voice. Lady?
Mila, blah, blah, blah.
He does the whole kiss thing. And you can tell this guy's a rake. And that's where we'll end the session.
Alrighty then.
Alright, hold on before you shut it off. So what did you think? Did we capture the Holmeseskian feel?
Yeah.
So the one thing I think we need to do is we need to clear to the players how the special tempers worked. A couple of times you could use art to increase your skill levels.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize I could do something like
So
that.
you need to make the players more acquainted with that. You mentioned you missed bennies. The reason I have separate skills in there is because rather than let every player be able to get a bonus to everything, it's seeing more appropriate to give them bonuses to things they're inclined to do.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, that is our first session, the twin punchlines. I do hope the listeners liked it, and we will have another startup one-shot session with Matthew here pretty soon, and maybe with Michael too. I'm not sure if Michael would be interested or not, but we'll see.
Okie dokie. Go ahead and